What's going on YouTube? This is SG1 Sports and you're watching our college football channel. Time for Upset Alert Week 10. Kind of returned back to normal last week. Out of the 8 games, we had 2 upsets. And that's, again, normally what the average is. 2 of the 8 games turn out to be upsets. These are just the teams that should be on Upset Alert. We're not saying they're all going to be upset. Last week we saw Georgia Tech upset North Carolina. That was on the video. And also Kansas, Oklahoma. That one was on the video as well. Had some other upsets in there that maybe weren't quite big enough to be upsets. Again, the spread has to be 4 points or more to be considered. And just like last week, there were more than 8 games really that I could have put on this video. There are a lot of potential upsets. Finding the ones that are actually going to be upsets, that's the tricky part. And we're going to go and give it our best shot here. Again, these are the 8 teams that should be on Upset Alert, the most likely big upsets for this week. And we'll go from the least likely to most likely, in my opinion, starting with Missouri, Georgia. All right, this game's on CBS, 3:30 Eastern Time. Georgia favored by 15.5 points. That's a pretty big number for number 2 versus number 12, especially when you look at the way Georgia has had some close games this year. Look at the Auburn game, for example. Some other games where they kind of got off to slow starts. South Carolina, remember they were down at halftime in that game at home, by the way. So, yeah, that's a pretty big number. But if you look at how they played in their big games, Kentucky was a big game. And then last week, that was a big game against Florida. They played really, really well in those games. And they are playing at home, and they do seem to be getting better and better. This is one that I do not think is going to be an upset. So the reason why I think it should at least be mentioned in the video is just because of the way Missouri played Georgia last year. Maybe they are on to something. This is obviously a much better Missouri team than we saw last year. And so maybe they have a chance to pull off the upset here. Maybe a Georgia team not as good as what we saw last year. And so that you add that up and say, well, yeah, Missouri has a chance in this game. I just think the motivation factor here for Georgia, because this was a team that really gave them a scare last year. I think Georgia really, really motivated for this game, playing at home, playing with confidence. I think Georgia wins pretty easy. But again, I could be wrong, and I think it's at least worth mentioning here in the video that Missouri could potentially pull off the upset if we get something like we saw last year. All right, Oregon State, Colorado, 10 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Oregon State favored by 13.5 points. You wonder about the Colorado offensive line. Can they improve there? If they can, they've got a shot. Oregon State, they've lost to Washington State, lost to Arizona, 2 teams that are not even ranked. They're playing on the road. Colorado kind of desperate at this point after, of course, that great start to the season, and now they've been struggling. Can they potentially pull off the shocker here? I think it's possible. Next, we go to Penn State, Maryland, 3:30 Eastern Time on Fox. Penn State favored by 8.5 points in this one. On the road, all right, this is a Penn State team that has not looked great as of late. You look at last week, struggled a little bit against Indiana. Did not look great, of course, against Ohio State. Their offense has just not been playing very well recently. Maryland, we expect their offense to play well. They can score points. It's the defense I think you worry about a little bit more with them. They're playing at home. This is just a typical upset alert type game right here. Maryland potentially pulling off the shocker and knocking Penn State out of contention in the Big Ten East. Next, we've got Kansas State, Texas, noon Eastern Time on Fox. Texas favored by 4. Of course, no Quinn Ewers. That's the story here. Can they win a big game without him? They did last week, although didn't really need a whole lot from the passing game. This is a Kansas State team that's been getting better and better as the season has gone along. Just like last year, of course, they played their best football late, winning the Big 12 championship. Can they pull off the upset here with no Quinn Ewers for Texas? They've got a shot. It's going to be tough for them on the road, though, against a really good Texas defense. But there's a reason why the spread's only 4 points in this game. Next, we've got Iowa, Northwestern, 3:30 Eastern Time. This game will be on Peacock. So I probably will not watch a second of this game. But anyways, Iowa favored by 5. Look at the over-under, 30.5. I think I saw something that this was like the lowest over-under, I don't know, in like a certain amount of time. Or maybe of all time, I can't remember what I saw there. But that is a really low number, 30.5 points. And it's because you got 2 good defenses and you got 2 bad offenses. Northwestern without their starting quarterback. Iowa, they've lost their starting quarterback for the season. They didn't have great offenses to begin with. And then you, again, compare that with good defenses. So this should be a low-scoring game. And I say this all the time. In low-scoring games, one play. Think about this for a second. Think about the Iowa game where they had the punt return. One play completely changed that game. They had the punt return, then it got called back because they said he called a fair catch or whatever. That one play changed the game. So a special teams play, a turnover, a defensive touchdown, something like that can definitely change this game and could be the difference in this game. If Northwestern makes that big play, yeah, they could pull off an upset here. Next, we've got Arkansas, Florida, noon Eastern time on ESPN2. Florida, how do they bounce back from the loss to Georgia last week? You play a big game like that, an emotional game, a physical game like that, maybe you're beat up a little bit, and again, mentally, where is this team at? This could be a tough one for them. Arkansas is a team that have they given up? If they have, Florida wins easily. But if Arkansas can come back and play motivated, if Sam Pittman can get this team ready to go and they play like a desperate team, perhaps they go on the road and pull off the upset. So watch for this one, again, to potentially be an upset. And then we've got Miami, NC State, 8 o'clock Eastern time on the ACC Network. Miami's favored by 4.5 points. I feel like these teams are pretty even. I think Miami is a better team, but they're playing on the road. Pretty tough place to play. NC State just beat Clemson. So, yeah, this is really a pick'em game. I could see it going either way. So, obviously, you have to put the Hurricanes on upset alert in this one. And then Oklahoma State, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC. Oklahoma favored by 6. Oklahoma has struggled the last couple of weeks. They survived against UCF. They did not survive against Kansas. They're on the road. It's Bedlam. It's the last Bedlam we're going to see probably for a long time. You know the motivation side is there with Oklahoma State. It's an Oklahoma State team that's been playing better and better. I think there's a really good chance that they pull off the upset here. And I think this is probably the most likely upset of the weekend. So what do you guys think? Maybe there's another game. Maybe Rutgers, Ohio State looked at that one. That one maybe has potential. I don't know, probably not. There were some other games, though, that I looked at. A lot to choose from this week, but these are the games that I think are most likely to be upsets. Which one do you think is going to be an upset, or which two do you think will be upsets? Because, again, usually 2 of these 8 games at least turn out to be upsets. Let me know which 2 you think it'll be, or maybe there's a game you think will be an upset that I didn't put on the video, and give me your thoughts down in the comments below.